Okay, and I know I'm mispronouncing your first name.
No worries, happens all the time.
I understand.
Joao.
Joao.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You did it a lot better than Representative King did, so thank you.
All right. Chair recognizes Joao Mitchell, testifying on behalf of Texas Cannabis Policy Center and yourself, and you are testifying against House Bill 5. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Van Dever and members of the committee. My name is Joao Mitchell, and I'm a legislative analyst with the Texas Cannabis Policy Center. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in opposition to HB 5, which seeks to prohibit and criminalize the possession of products that are federally legal and responsibly used by adults across Texas. This bill ignores clear guidelines put forward by Governor Abbott when he vetoed a similar bill just a few months ago. In his veto proclamation, he said, "Texans can and should reasonably regulate consumable hemp products to protect public health and safety without eliminating consumer access." HB 5 clearly ignores that guidance and doubles down on the failed prohibitionist policies of the past, which cause harm and waste public resources. Multiple statewide polls have found that Texans overwhelmingly agree with the governor's call for regulation over prohibition. Each of these polls have shown that the vast majority of Republicans, Democrats, and independents want reasonable rules, not criminal penalties. HB 5 would create new criminal offenses, leading to the arrest of tens of thousands of Texans annually. Due to the fact that these would be criminal drug offenses, the charges carry lifelong collateral consequences, hindering access to employment, housing, and educational opportunities. Criminal records derail lives, resulting in an immeasurable human cost. We at the Texas Cannabis Policy Center agree that gaps in the current regulatory infrastructure must be addressed. But the problem is mainly not the hemp industry, it's the lack of regulatory enforcement. Through public information requests, we have received documents from DISHES showing that the agency has only spent about 30% of the funding it collects through licensing and registration fees. Without proper oversight, bad actors are going to slip through the cracks. Accountability is critical, and it should come through administrative enforcement, including fines, license revocation, and product recalls, not criminalization. Lawmakers should give DISHES a clear mandate, step up regulatory enforcement and oversight. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Chair recognizes Lucas Gilkey, testifying on behalf of Hometown Hero and yourself, and you are against House Bill 5. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay, proceed.
Chairman, committee members, thank you for your time. My name is Lucas Gilkey. I am the CEO of Hometown Hero, a proud father and veteran of a U.S. Coast Guard counter-narcotics unit. I'm also currently the CEO of Hometown Hero, the plaintiff in a lawsuit against the state of Texas regarding hemp that has been ongoing since 2021. My Texas consumable hemp license number is 363. We are here again discussing a ban despite Governor Abbott's desire that the legislature find an appropriate way of adding the few missing regulations to the already existing ones. The hemp industry is regulated in Texas by DSHS, who receives millions of dollars per year in license fees. 4 different statewide polls show that Texans, including Republicans, do not support prohibition, and yet a couple of legislators continue working against the will of the people while they accept large amount of money from the alcohol industry and work closely with lobbyists who represent the Texas Compassionate Use Program companies participating in the state-sanctioned monopoly. The products being sold in the Texas Compassionate Use Program are identical in most cases to what is being sold legally in the hemp industry, especially now that they have appropriated specific products from the hemp industry to save their bad investments and protect out-of-state venture capitalists to the detriment of hardworking Texans who have broken the laws and hurt no one over the last 6 years. Governor Abbott's mandate was simple: add in the missing pieces and allow Texas to be able to claim it is still the most business-friendly state in the USA. Rather than respond to Governor Abbott's call, this committee is contemplating a ban that would erase $10 billion of economic impact in the state and $4.3 billion in retail sales that brings in $268 million of state sales tax annually. I hope this committee considers everything and everyone at stake before making any decisions, that they comply with the will of the people who elected them and show concern for their constituents faced with bankruptcy, debt, and unemployment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Chair recognizes Colton Luther, testifying on behalf of Texas Green Craft, LLC, and yourself, and you are against House Bill 5. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, you may proceed.
Colton Luther, I'm a 6th-generation Texan. I'm an entrepreneur in both the agriculture and consumable hemp side of this industry. On the agriculture side, I've got to see what the plant can do for the world through agriculture, through cultivating the plant, both for biomass and for fiber. On the consumable hemp side, we see the good that this plant and these consumable products do for Texans, everyday Texans, veterans, blue-collar workers, and everyone in between. The money that everyone likes to say we make in this industry, that $8 billion, is not from us pushing things down people's throat as much as it proves how much people depend on the products that we make. And we so terribly want to continue to serve those Texans from all walks of life on the consumable side. HB 5 as written makes that impossible to do. You've heard the intense and extreme emotional weight that this issue carries. As a producer and a consumable hemp manufacturer, I carry that weight too, the responsibility of not only providing a good product that people enjoy and can use for their benefit, but of course, getting away from the dangers or the potential misuses of those products. So we only use organic, natural cannabinoids, and we take extra pride and care in protecting our Texans. We take that very serious. The bad actors are not doing that. And if we didn't want sensible regulation, we wouldn't be showing up here. It's logical for us to want regulation and for any ban bills to fail. But we don't want that. We want something that works for all of us. That's the consumer, the manufacturer, and the grower in the farm. And I don't think that HB 5 is that solution, but I think we're getting a lot closer based on the information we've heard today. And I really appreciate all the time that you've given each one of these panels. I know it's a lot of information. I didn't want to repeat a lot. So again, thank you for hearing us out.
Absolutely. Thank you for testifying. Chair recognizes Elizabeth Miller, testifying on behalf of self, and you are against House Bill 5. Is that correct?
I am. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Miller. I am opposed to this bill. I also happen to be the policy director for the Republican Liberty Caucus, but I want to speak to this personally. Some of you I didn't spend as much time in public health this session as I would have liked to. Some of your colleagues had to see me a lot in elections and whatnot. But it's nice to appear in front of you. I wish I could have spent more time. I want to speak to this personally because although I do a lot up here now, I came to this building because of cannabis activism. I have a genetic hereditary connective tissue disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I'm going to have a bill for you next session on that, by the way. And it's known for its pain and a lot of other issues, GI issues, neurological issues. So I use cannabis for pain, for appetite, for seizures, and I would not be before you without it. I might not be alive without it. The reason I felt compelled by my circumstances, by the above perhaps, to be here and work on this issue is because I can't use flower or edibles don't work for me. I have to vaporize. So I must commit a felony every day in order to appear before you. And I've been coming up here and saying that under oath for years, that's the only reason I'm able to be here. I'm forced to do that. And every 2 years I come back and tell y'all how many thousands of Texans have been arrested, many of them children. I appreciate you pointing that out. Not the dealers, many of them are young people trying to kick off their lives. Many thousands of them are arrested each time, and each time I come back. So I'm asking, I know this is a difficult area. You have more education. Frank, I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's a hard area until you know the difference between colloquially CBD or the cannabinoid CBD. You have no business voting for this, respectfully. And so on behalf of RLC, I ask you to give me some time to explain more of this to you and discuss how we could have a good policy, because it's just not enough time. And please read their very, very thoughtful comments on why HB 5 is an incredibly bad idea.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions for this panel? Representative Schaffner.
Thank you. Read whose comments on why it's bad?
Republican Liberty Caucus,
Okay.
some of the members, including, I believe, the chair of the party, and I did, some other things that I didn't say here, posted some comments and thoughts on the bill, and we just respectfully ask that you give us an appointment to discuss those concerns. It's going to be bad for Texas as a business. Our business reputation will be trashed. I was at a pool party this weekend with a whole bunch of people who made a whole bunch of money making stuff in this state. Isn't that cool? And they had no idea, and they were appalled. And actually had one said, well, I won't be moving the next thing here. And every one of them, when I told them, sorry about your vapes, they said, oh, I'll just start smoking again. So people are going to still do it. We can regulate this and improve. All the harms you heard of, all of them, today in every hearing, talk about the fake stuff. This makes the real thing criminal, and pushes us towards more fake stuff. Not only will you not hear more of those stories, you will hear more of them. My father treated substance abuse disorder for many, many decades. The earlier mother you heard from is accurate. The cannabis use psychosis wasn't a thing until prohibition, and then we created all the fake stuff. That will have higher doses, even higher in a ban. You'll have higher doses directed at kids with the labels, no age gate, no nothing. You'll see more of those harms. I promise you. I really believe that. Which is why people are home praying right now that you guys will listen to this and not do this. Conservatives are praying.
Any other questions? Representative Pearson.
Thank you. Ms. Miller, this is what I've been trying to draw out all day. I've spent several years in mental health and substance abuse clinics, and it's not going away. So we've got to figure out what to do here. I mean, it's not an option to just ignore it. I've heard testimony of people saying, well, if we don't get a ban, we want the status quo. The status quo is not acceptable to me, personally. Just as a person, as a mom, as someone who's in charge of helping guide public health for Texas, it's clear the status quo is failing our children, it's failing our parents, it's failing legitimate businesses. So I want to ask some questions to those of you who are in business. I understand how it will impact you financially, but what I've been hearing a lot of when it comes to the psychosis, I've been trying to flesh this out. Unfortunately, we haven't had a medical panel yet, so I've been holding on to some of those questions. But it sounds to me like we are talking about illegal substances that are being sold at some of these shops. Is that what you've heard? I want to know what you guys in the industry are hearing about the complaints of THC psychosis and all of these other issues.
Representative Pearson, what you're hearing about is typically, especially in the streets of Austin, right? We have a large homeless population who deals with a lot of illicit drugs. What they are using are products that have been illegal for more than synthetic products. These are products that are not plant-derived. They are not taken from anything that anybody's grown in Texas. There's nothing to do with that. These are created in a lab or a bathtub somewhere and have nothing to do with the products that we are selling in the stores. If they were selling synthetic products in the stores, there would be people in jail, massive amounts of people, regardless of what these officers say. And if they aren't arresting people for having synthetic products in the store, why the hell not? So that's a huge question. I heard you ask that earlier, right? Why are people not in jail? If these are illegal synthetic products, why are we not putting people in jail? But I can tell you right now, living in Austin and dealing with the homeless crisis here and all these people that use these illicit drugs, they're using synthetic products, K2 and Spice. These are products that have been illegal for a long time. The city of Austin, for whatever reason, decides not to enforce any laws on that. That's their own issue. But right now, we're talking about plant-derived hemp products. And these are not products, in my experience, we probably have 500,000 customers in Texas. I have yet to hear one of them complain about one of our products causing psychosis. And I heard one of the experts up here early, and it sounded like he was eliciting that essentially that comes from pre-existing conditions, right? So if people are experiencing psychosis and already have pre-existing conditions, then I don't know what the medical causation could be because they already have pre-existing conditions. But everything that I'm hearing sounds like a synthetic product. We see this in Austin all the time. I know you guys see this here when you're here in Austin. These people that are strung out on the streets, they aren't buying this stuff in the stores, despite what you've heard today. I assure you, these products are not being bought in the stores. They're being bought on the streets. They're synthetic, K2 and Spice, and they've been illegal in Texas for over a decade.
And I think that's where I get stuck in all this because these products are illegal. And, even if we move forward with the ban, the House passed the ban last session, I don't know where we go from there. Do we make it worse by passing a ban, in your opinion?
Yes. You're literally handing an $8 billion industry over to the cartels. What do you think they're going to do with it? It's going to be a nightmare. The police sat up here and said they can't enforce this already the way it is. So we're going to now take products that are legally required to be tested and come from licensed manufacturers in Texas. Every product that's sold in a store is tested, has lab results, and we're going to take all these products that are being tested and being vetted and pure of fentanyl and any other garbage that's going to come from products that come across the border, and we're now going to shift that into a completely black market that is now consisting of fentanyl, who knows what else they're putting in these products that are going to be coming across the border. I think it's ridiculous not to assume that the cartels are not going to move into this space and take this over when Texas goes to make these products illegal. It's crazy to think that they're just going to sit there and watch and be like, oh, that's nice they did that. We aren't going to move in and take this $8 billion industry. I would argue right now the cartels, this is the most harm the cartels have had in decades by making these products legal in Texas and putting them in stores, because we're now buying from Texas manufacturers and Texas growers and not buying stuff that's coming across the border through the cartels. I guarantee you the revenues are down because of this.
And law enforcement made a good point, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. They said if we ban it, then they can just test it, yes, no, end of story, and then that person...
What about the products in the teacup program? Right?
Well, I mean, this is why we're having this discussion. We have to figure this out.
So that doesn't make any sense at all to me. And this has been brought up multiple times today. DSHS receives about $1.6 million per year from the state licenses, right? There's about 8,500 licenses. They get about $1.6 million per year. The information has been made public through an information request to the state that only about 30% of those funds are actually being used in the program. The rest of that money is going back to the state general fund. Why? So then there's a complaint of they don't have the resources to do enforcement, but they aren't even using the friggin' money. So what's the deal here? Like, are we being serious about this, or is this a joke? And I don't mean that for you guys. I mean just in general within the state. Like, if we're going to be serious about this, give them the resources to actually do enforcement. Right? Like, they have the resources to do it. And if we need to raise the license fees, we can raise the license fees. License fees are cheap. We're talking like $250 per license per year. That's dirt cheap. I mean, I don't think anybody in this industry would have a problem if we 4X that. Right? And multiply that. I mean, 4 times 1.6 million, we're getting up to $6 million a year. If they can't do enforcement on $6 million a year, which is a very reasonable increase in license fees, I don't understand where the issue would be. So I think there's a lot of very simple solutions that could be done within this industry. We've been pushing for an age gate since 2021 and have never had the opportunity to pass it, and there's been constant fight back on it within the political side for a variety of reasons, which you guys can sort of have those discussions behind closed doors. I don't want to speak out of turn, but we have been pushing for an age gate since 2021, and we have been denied every single session. That's a very simple solution to a lot of the things that are being brought up today is let's make these products 21 and up. That's very simple. Let's increase the licensing fees, give DSHS the actual resources they need to do enforcement, and stop ripping all the money out of their program and putting it back in the state general fund to where they actually have the money to do the enforcement. I think I heard something the other day that they were up to like 4 to 6 agents for 8,500 licenses, and they said it would take a decade to do all the inspections. That's crazy. Let's give them the resources to actually hire the agents they need. The testing is already required. We do full panel testing on every single product. We spend probably about $100,000 a year on full panel testing. It is insanely expensive. We test for microbials, heavy metals, pesticides, harmful constituents. Every possible thing that you can test for on the cannabis side, we test for, and we publish those results on every product that we sell with a QR code. Every single product that a consumer buys from us, and this is not just us, almost every company in the state does this. We have some issues with out-of-state companies, which I think need to be addressed and can be addressed simply by forcing more of the businesses to operate within Texas. Also, that helps Texas and brings more jobs. This industry created 53,000 jobs in Texas. Let's double it. If you start taking and forcing these companies to operate in Texas, one, it's easier to regulate, and two, you're going to put more money and more jobs back in the Texas economy. This is a time period where I think this is very, very important in how this committee acts and what you guys do. And this is literally creating the future of Texas. And I plead you guys to really take this seriously and understand that whether or not everybody likes it or not, the sort of cat is out of the bag with this. And the ideal scenario is if in 2021 where the politicians were not happy with this, that should have been handled back then. This industry is now massive. I'm disappointed that it's been let to go this far and not addressed because realistically if there are political sides of this that didn't want this industry, it should have been handled in 2021. Why was it not made illegal then? Why was it not shut back down? And here we are in 2025, 53,000 jobs. Many people have their entire livelihoods tied up in this industry because it's been allowed to be legal. It's been legal for 6 years now. You know, you can't blame these people for wanting to be a part of this industry and actually putting their life resources into it when it's been given to them as a legal product. And so now to sit in this and hear, you know, both sides really looking at, you know, the legality of this and trying to shut down the industry, I just think a full ban at this point doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And for the variety of reasons that we discussed, but you're literally going to create a massive market for the cartel that is going to cause the largest influx of fentanyl into Texas that you've probably ever seen. And I'm tired of seeing the billboards on the freeways from all the fentanyl deaths. I'm tired of it. And it has nothing to do with these products. All we're going to do is enable the cartels to do more of that. And it kills my soul to think of that.
And then, so what do you have to say then to the families, to the parents who feel like this industry has destroyed their lives?
I hate to say it, but I believe in most cases there are predisposed mental conditions that may, you know, whether they're worsened by hemp products or THC products or marijuana products, which they're all the same thing, by the way. They all come from the same plant, which I think you really gets lost in a lot of these discussions. Hemp and marijuana are both cannabis, and they both come from the same plant. The government regulates it as cannabis sativa L. The L is a long Latin word, but it's the same plant. It's exactly the same thing. The products being sold in the Texas Compassionate Use Program and the hemp program are exactly the same in almost every way.
Thank you. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, actually, I mean, this guy's hard to follow, right? I did want to add a few things, especially on resources for enforcement. We are regulated. Honestly, there is a structure to it. The enforcement's what's lacking, and I'll bring up an example. We are showing up here, putting our name and our business name and everything out there into the public. We're opening ourselves up to more attention inevitably. We know this, and it's been proven because ever since companies have started to come up here, there's been increased visits, there's been increased inspections and enforcement, and we continue to pass with flying colors, and we continue to show up here. And if we have 8 enforcement agents for the manufacturers, which also regulate the retails, by the way, 8 people for the entire state. If we had 16, would that break the bank? And it would double enforcement be something that we're not willing to do? It doesn't have to be something crazy like tens of thousands of enforcement agents coming around, chasing every complaint. There are people out there, obviously, that are coming to the table. We're putting our neck out for even increased exposure. And we continue to, again, meet all the regulations, all the guidelines, all the standards, all the testing procedures. So I think the idea that we're not regulated or that you can't get it under control is just not true.
Thank you. Go ahead.
May I address the psychosis especially? I'm just a caveman lawyer. I'm not a doctor, but something you'll notice, having grown up around the head shrinkers, they taught me this. The conditions where psychosis is a symptom, the mental illness, tend to show up in late teens and early 20s. And you will find a lot of these stories coincide and show up in that age range when that tends to show up. You'll have, not to say that the cannabis use isn't a trigger or a breakup or sexual assault and any number of things, substance use, but that's what you will see. And a lot of times you'll see these kids beginning to struggle, and then there's some self-medication, and I'm not saying that's successful, but I challenge you to look around and find some where the cannabis use disorder shows up in little old ladies and stuff, that it's that age range that you'll see it again and again.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. There's a trend there, which is why I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. Very familiar with late onset schizophrenia, which could be also drug induced earlier, but I'm looking for patterns here. So thank you for that.
Representative Cunningham.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Gilley, you pretty much started answering some of the questions that I had because I'm reading your statement here.
Yes, sir.
And you kind of outlined that the products sold in the Compassionate Use Program is identical to what's being sold legally, and I guess that would be your products.
Yes, sir.
And so I guess the difference to me, and maybe you can help me, from the Compassionate Use, that program is more in a controlled environment.
I believe that is a myth that we're led to believe.
Okay,
Most of the
that's what I'm saying.
doctors-
That's what I'm saying. Just correct me now.
Yes, sir.
Because
My understanding, and we've tried to get the information on any kind of training that the doctors have had in that program, and my understanding is those doctors have little to no training whatsoever on prescribing marijuana within that program.
okay. So, but on the other hand, though, you're telling me you're constantly having testing that's being done.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We have internal testing and we have third-party testing done as well. We spend over $100,000 a year on full panel testing.
Okay. So even though the compassionate use probably has no testing and they're just measuring out dosages or whatever.
They are, the companies within the compassionate use program are responsible for their own testing. They report to themselves. If there's an adverse issue on one of their products, they literally report it to themselves.
Okay. One of the other things that you mentioned also too is that you've been trying for some time, and it appears that I'll put myself in there, have been kind of ignoring you, that you've been trying to get an age limit of 21.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
with that age limit, are we trying to say that these products, there are some concerns with them with certain ages?
No, sir. It's more
You say
so.
yes
It's
and you
more
say
so
no.
just a formality. So
a
right
formality.
now, like the lieutenant governor went into a store right near our office,
Uh-huh.
tried to buy product, and they ID'd him. He was trying to prove that they weren't IDing, and they did ID him.
Gotcha.
I do not believe that children have access to these products right now the way the industry is set up. I believe everybody's doing child-proof packaging already. We're IDing. We're doing the things that we need to. But in terms of a legality issue and legislatively, there is no 1325. HB 1325 was not passed with an age limit. So we are trying to be proactive as an industry to do the right thing and go put that into place.
Yes, ma'am. I'll let it go this time.
We've had bills that would have done that had the votes, and I won't drop names. I don't have to. Certain powers.
You already
that-
did when you said we had bills, so.
Yeah, right. But I mean, they were taken. That had the votes to get this regulation we're talking about done in earlier sessions.
Right.
And because of things, people decided to make a strategic play of, well, let's just wait and see if we can get the ban rather than regulating. And I, like you, find that abhorrent, respectfully, because we can regulate, minimize the harm, and then they can keep trying to get their ban if they must. But there's no reason for us to continue this harm.
Okay. Well, and back to you, sir. So if I quite understand, try to understand you right, the key in moving forward is not to do a total ban that basically wipes out not only an economy and jobs and things of this nature, but is to put in place, I would probably say, in my own words, regulations that would, well, let me put it this way. Can regulations include banning some materials or substance or
Yeah,
products?
I believe the industry would be open to having discussions about that. If there are certain cannabinoids that the legislature is not wanting to exist within Texas, there can be a conversation about that. But just to be clear, synthetic products are already illegal. These wouldn't be synthetic.
Right,
These would be
right.
plant-derived.
Right.
But I believe the industry would be open to having a conversation and trying to find a happy medium.
Right. And so just to get sure, because I'm looking at something that one of the mothers sent me in, and you're on one of these pages here.
I'm usually him.
That's good. You're not producing synthetic products.
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Frank.
Yeah, just a quick question. I think one of the questions is really, can we intelligently regulate it? I think when you listen to the law enforcement, the real question is, can you intelligently regulate it? Do you have the ability to do that with testing, that kind of stuff? The one thing I was just going to maybe push back on a little bit, because you said, all this growth has been based on legal, right? Like we made it legal and now we're making it illegal. Well, from what I can tell, the vast majority of the growth has actually been because people are selling stuff that is not legal, that it is actually impacting people, it is getting them high, because the stuff that has been legal has been the less than 0.3, right?
Correct.
And that is very hard to take enough. You can, but it's very hard to take enough to actually.
That's completely incorrect.
Completely false.
Okay, so everybody else is wrong.
Yes, that's completely incorrect.
Completely
So it's 0.3% on a dry weight basis delta 9 THC, specifically delta 9 THC, which is the single cannabinoid. Like if you go buy a product in Colorado or California or Oklahoma or any of these states, that's typically what the cannabinoid is that's going to get you high. There are other cannabinoids that have psychoactive effects. Delta 9 is the most prominent. That is the one that is highly recognized as, if it's getting you high from cannabis, it's typically referred to as Delta 9. 0.3% on a dry weight basis goes by the weight. So if you have a 6-gram gummy, for example, you can have up to 18 milligrams of Delta 9 THC in that 6-gram gummy. Now, this scales with weight. And I think this is something that gets lost in sort of understanding this. That Delta 9 amount scales with the weight of the product. So you can't really say anything less than 0.3% is not going to get you high. Anything higher will, because you could have a 1-gram gummy that has a substantially less amount of THC than a 6-gram gummy, and one will get you high and one may not. Does that make sense?
No, but yeah, I'm sure it does to you.
I apologize. We've been doing this for a long time.
I mean, part of it, I've tried to do research online and everything, and pretty consistently, it's like the 0.3. And I will say it does appear like when people put those in place, and certainly when the legislation was passed here, it was more agriculture, and the intent was, hey, this is not, an intent doesn't matter, right? Like what gets written matters. But the intent was, hey, this is for agriculture use. We're trying to make sure not to punish agriculture, but it was put low to try to get where it wasn't impacting people as much. Would you agree that that was likely the reason that it was put in place?
The documents I've seen around HB
level?
1325, the politicians knew that THC was present in hemp.
Of course.
I don't know if it was fully understood the amount, but if you go back to the federal farm bill, where all this came from, because Texas copied the federal farm bill,
right.
I think it's been made pretty clear over the years that their intent was to legalize hemp and everything of it, not just from an industrial agricultural standpoint, but to actually create a thriving industry. And so if Texas copied that, I would argue then I don't think it was just for the agriculture side if it was copied from the farm bill, which it was.
So it was a threat. So it was basically as much, because it just seems to me like the industry has grown based on how badly it could either, in some cases, say it's less than 3 and then produce whatever, and then obviously, you would acknowledge there is a lot of stuff sold under incorrect labeling.
No, I actually disagree with that. So our full
all the law
product,
enforcement going in and doing that, they're just lying to us, or what?
a lot of times,
these 8,000 different stores.
A lot of times they don't understand what they're saying. And I don't mean to be rude. I have a love for law enforcement. I think they're wonderful people, but they are not experts. And I trust what the chemists say more than what the law enforcement gentlemen say, because there are some very fine caveats in this and how words are used. It got brought up today multiple times with synthetic and synthesis. There are words that are being misused in this and misconstrued that confuse a lot of people and make us all trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this. And it's not that complicated. And I believe, I tend to trust the chemists more than the law enforcement people, the people that are actually doing the testing and looking at the products and trying to understand this. Those gentlemen and the people that I heard today that were the chemists made the most sense to me.
Okay. Well, and I think that law enforcement is using chemists and getting this
They're saying
information.
different things in a lot of cases, though.
Okay. I think this may go back to I find when people can't see the other side of the issue, and that seems to be where you are on this, but that's fine.
May I add a point, Representative Frank? Just about the percentages and whatnot. I think part of what confuses people so much about this is that they're equating alcohol percentages to cannabis percentages, whereas we need to be looking at cannabis more so like the way that we dose, Tylenol, right? We're not looking at like what percentage that Tylenol is ibuprofen. We're looking at the 200 milligrams of Tylenol like per dosage. And so I think that's probably a misunderstanding which has caused a failure within the policy that, at the end of the day, cannabis acts more like something that's dosed by milligram more so than it is like dosed by percentage, if that makes sense.
No, sorry. That does make sense. So what gets you high with the 0.3? Mm-hmm. How many milligrams?
So it is arbitrary. So with that 0.3, you can go anywhere from you can have a super giant Advil, right, and that's going to have a million milligrams of ibuprofen, or you can have like that tiny Advil, which is only going to have 200 milligrams of ibuprofen, regardless of it, because there'll be the same concentration of ibuprofen in both those giant and tiny tablets, right? But at the end of the day, that giant tablet is going to kill you, and that tiny tablet won't.
So how would you tell somebody how potent the THC is? You're saying
based on the
milligram,
based on the milligrams that are in the package. So let's say a gummy has 50 milligrams. I would say that the product should be regulated based on the amount of milligrams in that package, not on the percentage.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Representative Schaffner.
So what's the milligram would you suggest?
So, I mean, there's different guidelines done by different, doctors and researchers. But, I mean, as someone mentioned earlier, a lot of the starting doses on the teacup program are probably around 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams. But, that kind of depends on the condition and the weight of the person, how large their brain is, et cetera, et cetera. Someone can try 5 milligrams for the first time and get super high. Someone can try 100 milligrams for the first time and not feel anything. So it's really dependent on the person's biochemistry and their weight and other factors.
Okay, I had another question. Now, with the teacup program, where are they getting their product?
They grow their own product. They grow their own flower. Yeah.
In their own fields, in their own whatever. But you're saying that the doctors don't know what they're doing with the
so they were supposed to be producing their own flower. There's lawsuits going on alleging that they might be getting out-of-state flower legally. But yes, I mean, by law, they are supposed to be producing their own flower and extracting it themselves and producing their own products.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I heard your exchange with Representative Frank, and I'm tracking now because honestly, I've learned way more about this than I ever wanted to. But I think I have a better understanding now because the confusion is the 0.3%. It's all 0.3%. It's just in dosages of milligrams. So the percentage stays the same. It's just the weight that is determining the dosage. And Ms. Hayes left us a nice chart about what other states are doing, and they're actually capping dosages, not percentages per se. Is that accurate? She's shaking her head. Thank you. And that's something we have not discussed yet at this point. So thank you for reminding me to bring this up. And you said teacup is 5 milligrams to what? I think it goes to 5 to 10. Is that what it is?
Starting off, yeah, depending on the condition, that's completely up to the doctor's discretion. Right now, I believe we're capped at 1%, which kind of gives the doctor discretion. There is, with the new teacup expansion going in September 1st, that will be changed to a 10 milligram cap, where the doctor can kind of decide how many 10 milligram caps you get, if that makes sense. It's still kind of wonky in terms of the policy. It's really confusing. But yeah, I guess, so to go back, yeah, I mean, some people need 5 milligrams for anxiety and some people need 100 milligrams for PTSD. It really depends on the condition and their biochemistry.
And so it made a lot more sense after hearing this discussion when we have the Deputy Commissioner of Dishes, because I asked the question, well, if all of these complaints are coming in about these dosages, why are we not arresting people? And he said, because they're legal.
Yeah.
And they're legal because of the 0.3%.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm getting this now. So when we see something that's, if you have a product that's 25 milligrams, it's still 0.3%. It's just 25 milligrams.
Yes, ma'am.
So would you be open to a cap on milligrams?
We've actually had discussions about that in the past, but it didn't go anywhere. But yeah, I'm very open as an industry. I believe that we're all open to having any kind of compromise discussions to make this work and not end up at a full ban.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
I'm going to make a point too on the milligram versus the percentage, that it is an option. I think, again, that's just something that is arbitrary for the individual. So 5 milligrams for me might be a high dose, but 25 milligrams for him might be nothing. And there's ways to get around that. So I just have to go buy more, eat more. I think that is focusing on capping the amount in a package is a distraction from regulating what's in it, how it's made, where it's sold. So I think that's kind of something that other markets have failed with, because it's not so much, it's not really related to, oh, I only had 3 milligrams, so I'm okay. It's just like I can have one beer and be okay, or not. I mean, it depends on my chemistry. It's the same thing in liquor stores. There's different dosages and levels of potency, and consumers can read the package and see if it's from an honest, legitimate company. They can see exactly what's in it, how much is in there, and what the serving size is. I have a product where the serving size is one piece of a larger piece, but we're very clear about that. And that's based on person to person. If you're not being careful about what you put in your body, when you put it in your body, how it's made, and doing some research. I do that with my food. I do, right? So I'm making those decisions as a consumer. So the milligram and the percentage is kind of a distraction. The percentage comes from agriculture. Again, I'm a farmer, because we needed a threshold of what signifies this being a legal, federally legal hemp crop versus a federally illegal marijuana crop.
Right.
Federally illegal marijuana can get up to 1, 5, 10+%. Ours has to always remain below that 0.3. It's just that potency threshold that I think is important, but making it a milligram or throwing some arbitrary number that we choose is not the real solution. It's how it's made, where it's made, how it's sold, where it's sold, who it's sold to. All of those issues are things that I think this legislature can get a handle on without having to dive into the minutia and chemistry as much as what has maybe been already presented today.
The alcohol industry has made the percentages work. I don't believe they have serving sizes, and they also don't use milligrams or grams of ethanol in terms of the dosing. So they have made that work, and I believe they've sort of set the standard with that, and that's sort of how this ended up being where it is with cannabis and with hemp. But we're open to having discussions and finding a happy medium to make the legislature happy.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just looking at all the options that we have available
Yes,
to
ma'am.
us. So would it be fair to say that a lot of the people who see these things, packaging is horrible, by the way, on some of these products when they're
Totally.
marketing them?
That's one of the things that we wanted to address and get some packaging updates, some clear guidance on good packaging for Texas.
We've also already seen nicotine vapes and other things in consumable markets. They can't use fruit. They can't use celebrities. That's stuff that's easy to abide by. Again, I can't speak for bad actors, but as a good actor myself, we already do all of that.
And so, speaking of the bad actors, the high potency stuff is the issue. I mean, this is what law enforcement's talking about. They're testing 70%, you name it. Do you know where these products are coming from? Because if it's not being made here, if our farms are being checked, and apparently we've had testimony saying that they are checked at this 0.3%, where are these high potency products coming from, and how are they getting into the stores? Is there any talk in the industry about where it's coming
yeah.
from?
A
and
lot
what
of
we
them
can
are
do
coming
about
from
it?
California. And
So it's coming in from out of state?
Yes, ma'am. And that's what I was saying. If we focus on making this industry more Texan focused from sort of seed to finished sale in the stores, if we focus on making this industry really Texan all the way, it will completely change everything and make it much more easily enforceable.
I don't want products from any other state or any other country. I do know that there are things like that on the market. We combat cartels and other states around us and all kinds of other black market and sometimes the government to operate and keep people safe and keep providing safe products. A lot of times, like with what I just experienced, where we're getting checked on when we're already out here in the public. We're already explaining who we are, how we do things, inviting people in. We know when we get the license that our doors are unlocked. You can come in anytime, check us out. When resources are spent on the good actors, all these bad actors, they can order whatever from wherever. They can put whatever on their store or on their shelves in their store. So again, where it's made, how it's made, who makes it, where it's sold, how it's sold, who's selling it, all of those things are easily regulated. And there's already guardrails for that. There's just not as much there for the enforcement side of that. And no one here definitely is against any of that stuff.
And not all the companies from California, I want to say, are bad companies.
Right.
What you would see is if you force this industry to stay within Texas, you would have companies moving from out of state, moving to Texas to participate in this industry. And it would alleviate all the bad actors.
Which I've already been doing for 6 years. So is this guy. So is this guy.
I see.
Invested a lot of time.
Okay.
I'm outside of my legislative work, I'm a general manager of a couple stores here in Austin, and we grow our own flower, we produce our own gummies, we do everything by ourselves because we want to make sure that none of the crap that comes from, excuse my language, that comes from out of state is what's being sold, because a lot of it is crap, and it hurts Texans, it hurts people, it hurts the industry, because it hurts our legitimacy when bad products are being sold and they think that it's coming from people here in the state producing good agricultural products. It angers me when we're doing everything right and at the end of the day we're being punished for it, or at least demonized for it. Sorry, not punished.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you.